I went out with my boss instead of him, and he took it to heart and decided to divorce me. It's just so crazy how you think you're making one harmless decision, and then suddenly your entire life falls apart. I genuinely don't know what to do anymore. I thought I was doing something small, something harmless, just to make my husband a little jealous. And now my marriage is on the brink of collapse. Let's call my husband Danny for the sake of privacy. Danny is 28, I'm also 28, and we've been married for about 4 years. Things between us have always been good, stable, happy even. But there's always been this thing about Danny. He's calm, too calm I'd say. No matter what happens, he never gets riled up, and he never gets jealous. At first I thought it was amazing. Isn't it every woman's dream to have a partner who is so secure in the relationship that he never doubts you? Danny trusts me completely. It's a foundation most people would kill for, right? And for the longest time, I convinced myself it was perfect. No fights over petty jealousy, no accusations, no insecurity, just solid trust. But over time, I realized something was missing. Something subtle but important. I wanted to feel like he was crazy about me, like he couldn't imagine life without me. Instead, Danny's unshakable calm started to feel indifferent. I know that sounds dramatic, but hear me out. It wasn't that he didn't love me. He was a great husband in every other way. He supported me in my career, always made time for date nights, and remembered little things about me that showed he cared. But emotionally, I started to feel like I could fade into the background, and he wouldn't even blink. If I went out with my girlfriends and came back late, all I'd get was a casual reminder to stay safe and a good night when I got home. If I told him someone hit on me at the bar, he'd chuckle and brush it off like it was no big deal. I started to feel like it wouldn't even matter to him if someone else found me attractive, like it didn't faze him at all. I told myself I was overthinking it, that his laid-back personality was a good thing and I was being ungrateful. But the feeling didn't go away. I wanted him to want to protect me, to be a little territorial. Not in a controlling or toxic way, I would never want that, but enough to show me that he saw me as his person. Instead, everything just rolled off him, like if I disappeared tomorrow, he'd just shrug, say he hoped I was okay, and go about his day. It started to eat away at me, this idea that maybe I wasn't as important to him as I thought. Maybe he loved me in the same calm, practical way he loved his favorite pair of sneakers, dependable, comfortable, and replaceable if they ever wore out. It sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? But I started to crave proof of his passion, a spark, a reaction, anything to show me I still mattered to him in that deeply emotional way. I talked to him about it. I did. I thought maybe if I opened up and told Danny how I was feeling, we could work through it together. It wasn't an easy conversation to start, but I figured honesty was the best way to go. Danny listened, as he always does, calmly and without interrupting me. He didn't brush me off or make me feel silly. Instead, he told me he understood where I was coming from, but then he explained something about himself that stuck with me. He said he had always been the kind of person who believed that if someone wanted to stay, they would stay. That being overly jealous or obsessive wouldn't make a difference, because if someone wanted to leave, or worse, cheat, then they would do it regardless. It made sense in a way. It was so logical, so Danny. He wasn't trying to make me feel unimportant. This was just how he viewed relationships. He believed in trust and autonomy. No controlling, no obsessing, no holding on too tightly. To him, it was the healthiest way to love someone. And I guess I can't blame him for that. We had a heartfelt conversation about it, and I thought we had put the issue to rest. He reassured me that he loved me and didn't need to prove it through jealousy or possessiveness. I told myself I should be satisfied with that. It was the mature, reasonable thing to do, right? But still, it kept nagging at me, that little voice in my head that whispered, he doesn't care enough. It wasn't true, of course, but feelings aren't always logical. I tried to push it down, tried to convince myself that Danny's calm and secure love was better than the volatile, dramatic kind of passion I thought I wanted. But I couldn't let it go, and that's when I started making my mistakes. The stupid, impulsive decisions that snowballed into the mess I'm in now. At first, it was just a small idea, nothing serious, just a little nudge to see if I could spark some kind of reaction in him. I told myself it wasn't harmful, just harmless flirting when we were out with friends. Smiling a little too brightly, laughing a little too loudly at someone else's jokes, a touch on the arm here, a lingering glance there. I even flirted with some of his friends, just casually, nothing inappropriate, nothing I thought would cross a line. I kept telling myself it was all in good fun. It's just a playful little game, but deep down I wasn't doing it for fun. I was doing it to provoke Danny, to see if he would react. At first, he just seemed puzzled. He'd give me this confused look like he wasn't sure what I was doing, but then he'd brush it off. No jealousy, no anger, just Danny being his usual calm, laid-back self. And for some reason, that enraged me. I know how ridiculous it sounds, but his lack of reaction felt like a rejection. It made me feel unimportant, like I didn't matter enough for him to care. I spiraled. Instead of stepping back and questioning my own behavior, I doubled down. I became more obvious, more brazen, thinking that maybe if I pushed hard enough I'd finally break through that wall of composure. I thought I could control it, that it was just a harmless experiment to test the waters. But looking back now, I see how toxic that mindset was. I wasn't trying to fix our marriage. I was trying to manipulate him into being someone he wasn't. And that's when things really started to go downhill. At some point, Danny sat me down. He told me that he didn't like how I had been acting lately, that the flirting and attention-seeking were out of character for me and disrespectful to him. And instead of feeling ashamed or apologetic, I lashed out. I told him the truth, or at least the version of the truth I had convinced myself of. I told him I wanted to see him jealous, that I wanted to feel like I mattered enough for him to get angry or upset. I told him I was sick of feeling like he didn't care. Danny didn't get angry. He told me that what I was doing wasn't fair to him or to our relationship. He said I was trying to force him to be someone he wasn't. And worse, I was doing it in a way that was damaging our marriage. Hearing him say that should have been my wake-up call, but instead of taking his words to heart, I felt defensive and hurt. I told myself that he just didn't understand how I felt, that if he really loved me, he would want to show me in the way I needed. His calm, rational response only made me angrier. I wanted fire and passion, not reason and logic. I became more brazen, more determined to get a reaction out of him. I started doing things I knew would cross the line. Not just flirting with random guys, but actively seeking out situations that would provoke him. I started staying out later, dressing up more provocatively, and making sure he knew about the attention I was getting from other men. Danny noticed, of course. He wasn't blind. But instead of reacting the way I wanted, he seemed to double down on his calm demeanor. It was almost like he had decided that if I was going to act out, he wasn't going to give me the satisfaction of a reaction. No matter what I did, no matter how far I pushed, he remained the same calm, collected Danny. He would acknowledge my behavior with a glance or a comment here and there, but there was no anger, no jealousy, no passion. Just Danny with his infuriatingly calm Danny face. At first, his lack of reaction only fueled my determination. I thought if I pushed harder, he'd eventually crack, but over time it started to have the opposite effect. Instead of feeling empowered or in control, I started to feel desperate. I was throwing everything I had at him, and it was like shouting into a void. Looking back now, I can see how toxic and destructive my behavior was, but in the moment, all I could focus on was how much I needed him to give me something, anything, to prove he cared. And I guess at some point he decided that if I was determined to break us, he wasn't going to stop me. I tried everything. I mean everything. I would get dressed to the nines, put on the most flattering, daring outfits I could find, and make a big show of going out with my friends or coworkers. I'd post pictures on social media with captions that I knew would raise questions, but still nothing from him. No snide comments, no accusations, no anger. He just acknowledged the posts with a like or a casual remark when I got home. The lack of reaction drove me wild. I was running out of ideas, and with every failed attempt, I grew more frustrated. I started to question myself. Was I not worth fighting for? Was I not attractive enough to him to inspire jealousy? I started to think that maybe Danny didn't care because he just didn't love me enough. At that time, things with my boss had been getting a little too close for comfort. Greg had been flirting with me pretty openly, And I was actively encouraging it, though I wouldn't admit it to myself at the time. The truth was, I didn't feel seen by Danny anymore. I wanted him to notice me, to care, to get jealous, to show some kind of emotion. The breaking point came one day that I'll never forget. Danny had suggested that we go out to dinner, just the two of us. Now looking back, I think he was trying to fix things. He saw the distance between us, and he wanted to do something about it, even if it was just a simple dinner, but I refused him that night. My boss had invited me out for dinner too. He said it was to celebrate the completion of a big project, and in the moment, I agreed. I mean, it sounded innocent enough, right? But deep down, I knew it wasn't really about celebrating work. It was about me getting attention, and from the one person who had been making me feel good about myself lately. Greg had specifically invited me and me alone, no other coworkers, just me. That fact nagged at me, but I ignored it. I didn't want to overthink it. I could have asked Danny to come with me. I should have, but I didn't. Instead, I lied. I told him other coworkers would be there. I don't even know why I said that, honestly. Maybe it was to avoid the guilt that was creeping up in me even as I said it. Danny didn't ask for more details, and I didn't offer them. When he asked if he should come along, I shrugged it off like it was no big deal. I told him it wasn't necessary and that it was just a casual work thing. He kissed me on the cheek and told me to have a good time, but I could tell he was a little unsure, a little hesitant. And that was when the anger started to build in me. I wanted him to push back, I wanted him to get upset, to insist that he'd come with me. But no, he just accepted it, and that calmness, that lack of reaction, it pissed me off more than I cared to admit. Was I not worth his time? Was I just that unimportant? At dinner, Greg was his usual charming self, overly complimentary, flattering, and yes, a little too touchy-feely at times. But that night, he kicked it up a notch. He praised my work like never before, making a show of how lucky Danny must be to have me in his life. The comments got borderline inappropriate at times, but instead of shutting it down like I should have, I leaned into it. I laughed a little too hard at his jokes, let him refill my glass a little too much, and allowed the attention to flood over me and make me feel important again. When dinner ended, I could have easily called it a night, but instead, I stayed behind for just one more drink. Greg offered to drive me home, and for a second, I hesitated. I didn't need to think about it for long. I had already made up my mind that I wasn't doing anything wrong. When I walked through the door that night, Danny was sitting on the couch watching a movie. He looked up at me, a small, calm smile on his face as he asked how the dinner had gone. I could barely meet his eyes. I felt sick to my stomach. The guilt hit me harder than it ever had before, and yet I dismissed it. I gave him a vague answer about how it was just work, nothing major, and went straight to bed. The next morning, I tried to pretend like nothing had happened, but I knew I couldn't hide the tension. Danny noticed. He always did, but he didn't say anything at first. He didn't ask probing questions. It wasn't like him to get confrontational. But I could feel the change in the air. A few days passed, and I made the mistake of mentioning Greg again, and how it had been just us that had gone to dinner. I said it offhandedly, like it was no big deal, like it didn't mean anything at all. I didn't realize how much it bothered Danny until later that night when he finally brought it up. He asked me point blank if I had gone out with Greg alone instead of inviting him. I didn't know how to answer. I wanted to tell him the truth, that I hadn't wanted him there, that I had wanted to be with Greg, to feel wanted, but I didn't. Instead, I lied. I told him that it was just work, that it didn't mean anything, and that he knew Greg wasn't interested in coming to those things anyway. I lied again, saying I didn't know coworkers weren't invited. It wasn't just the lie that ate at me, though. It was the look in Danny's eyes. He wasn't angry, at least not in the way I'd expected. No, he was disappointed. He didn't argue or press me further. He just accepted my excuse and let it go, and I thought that would be the end of it. Or at least I hoped so. After that day, over the next few weeks, things shifted in ways I couldn't understand. Danny wasn't cold or hostile, but he wasn't the same either. There was this distance between us, like an invisible wall had been placed, and I couldn't figure out how to break through it. He stopped asking about my day. The kind of questions that had always made me feel cared for. The small talk we used to share seemed to vanish, and even the quiet moments before sleep when he'd reach out for me, hold me close, and make me feel like everything was right, had stopped. It was like he was physically there, but emotionally miles away, and no matter how hard I tried, nothing seemed to reach him. I began to panic. This wasn't what I wanted. I didn't want things to end like this. I wanted him to fight for me, to show me that he cared, but instead, he was slipping further and further away from me. I started overcompensating, asking him about his day more than usual, planning little surprises to get his attention, but none of it worked. The more I tried, the more distant he became. I felt like I was chasing a version of him that no longer existed, and no matter what I did, I couldn't get him to come back to me. One night, after another evening of silence between us, I couldn't take it anymore. I broke down and begged him to tell me what was wrong, to just say something, anything that would explain why he had pulled away so completely. His response hit me like a punch to the stomach. He said he was done. I was in complete shock. How had things gotten this far, without me seeing it coming? After everything that had happened, I couldn't believe that this was the breaking point. Him knowing I'd gone out to dinner with my boss alone without telling him. Not the flirting, not the late nights, not the fact that I'd been pushing his boundaries, but the simple fact that I had chosen to go out alone instead of with him. He said he realized then that he wasn't the one for me, and that was it. I tried to plead with him, tried to make him see that it wasn't about that one night, that everything else leading up to that dinner had been a mess, but he wasn't having it. He told me that it wasn't just that dinner, it was everything that had led to it. He felt disrespected, like I was trying to change him into someone he wasn't, someone he couldn't be. He told me how patient he had been, how he tried to give me space, but he couldn't keep pretending anymore. He said he didn't feel needed or wanted, and that I made him feel like he was never enough for me, that I had been looking for something, someone else, and he just couldn't keep living that way. I begged him to reconsider. I promised him I would change. I told him I'd stop doing things that made him uncomfortable, stop trying to make him jealous, that I would stop seeking validation from others. I told him I'd do anything to save us, to fix what I had broken. But he didn't respond the way I'd hoped. Instead, he looked at me, almost resigned, and told me he didn't think I really wanted him, that I wanted someone he wasn't, someone he couldn't ever be. The next day, he packed his things and moved out. I've tried everything since then. I've called, I've texted, I've sent messages begging for another chance. I told him I would quit my job if that's what it took, that I would stop trying to provoke him, that I would do whatever I had to do to fix things. But nothing has worked. First update: it's been overwhelming these past few weeks. I never intended for any of this to happen, but here we are. I want to acknowledge that I was wrong, truly. I had something special, and I threw it all away. I don't need anyone to keep reminding me of that. I know, I get it. I was a big idiot. The whole you never know what you have until it's gone thing? Yeah, it hits home, and it's honestly so true. I miss him so much I can't even begin to explain it. Where do I even start? Wow, what a roller coaster this has been. I feel completely miserable without him, and it stings so much more knowing that this is all my fault. Every night, all I can do is cry. I've been devouring tubs of ice cream like it's some sort of comfort, all while watching our favorite movies. His favorite movies. I can't believe I'm here doing this alone. It doesn't help that he's moving forward with the divorce. He's serious about it, and the more I think about it, the more I realize that he's been done for a long time. He left the very next day, and looking back, I can't help but feel like that was when he had already made up his mind. He'd been planning it. How did I never see it coming? It's clear now, he wants a divorce. He doesn't want to fix things. He doesn't want therapy. He doesn't want couples counseling. He just wants me to sign the damn papers and let him go. It's like a punch to the gut hearing him say that he's done. He told me he was tired, exhausted from trying, and that I had made him miserable for so long that there was no way he could go back to that. It crushed me when he said that. He said that I wanted something else and that it was fine. He wanted something else too. He said the kind of peace of mind he was looking for, the kind he deserved, couldn't be found with me. And you know what? He's right, I see that now. I can't fix it. I can't make it better. I've honestly been walking around like a zombie these past few weeks. I can't focus on anything, let alone work. My performance at the office has tanked, and right now, I absolutely despise my boss. I can barely look him in the eye. He tried to make a move on me the other day, and I reported him to HR immediately. I'm still waiting to see where that goes. As if things couldn't get worse, I'm stuck in this miserable job with no motivation, no drive, and no sense of purpose anymore. And then there's the whole thing with my family. My mutual friends have all made it clear they think he was right to leave me. Even my parents. Yeah, they've all sided with him. They said they knew it was only a matter of time before I pushed him away, and well, now here we are. They told me it wasn't a surprise that it ended like this. If they knew all of that, why didn't they say something sooner? Why didn't they warn me? Why did they wait until it was too late? It's just so frustrating, and honestly, it feels like they're all piling on now that the damage is done. Even his parents, the ones I tried to reach out to, hoping they could help me talk to him, have completely cut me off. His mom refused to speak to me and said she had always known I was a nutcase and that she'd warned him. Excuse me? Seriously? Second update. Well, it's been a while, hasn't it? Life has been chaotic, to say the least. First off, the thing you're all probably wondering about. The divorce? Yep, it's finalized. Done. Over. No going back, no magic time machine to undo my mistakes. It was over in less than an hour at the courthouse. My entire life, my marriage, everything I had worked to build, all gone in the span of a few minutes, just like that. I sat there thinking, wow, this is it. It felt surreal, like I was floating outside of myself watching it happen. There wasn't even any drama about property or alimony or anything like that. I didn't qualify for spousal support, which stings, but honestly, I don't even want to get into that, because it just makes me feel worse. So yeah, that chapter of my life is officially closed. It hurts more than I can even describe. Every time I think about it, it feels like my chest is caving in. I miss him. I miss him so damn much. I regret everything I did to push him away, and all I can do is wish. Wish that I could go back in time. Wish that I could tell him how sorry I am. Wish that I could undo every stupid decision I made. But there's no going back. This is my reality now. And on another note, I quit my job. Yep, that dead-end job I hated with every fiber of my being. I finally said screw it and walked out. It probably wasn't the smartest decision. Hell, it was downright stupid considering I still have bills to pay, but I couldn't take it anymore. I hated everything about that place. I hated the people, the work, the soul-crushing monotony of it all. It made me feel like even more of a zombie than I already am. So I quit. I picked up a part-time job to help with expenses and decided to take a chance on starting my own business. I know it sounds insane, right? Someone like me who can barely keep her life together trying to build something from scratch. But I needed something, anything, to feel like I had some control over my life again. It's still small, like barely off the ground small, but it's mine. I work on it every day, and honestly, it's the only thing keeping me from completely falling apart. That said, my living situation is a whole other nightmare. I have a roommate now, and let me tell you, she's the absolute worst. I cannot stand her. She's dirty, messy, and completely disrespectful. The apartment is always a disaster because of her, and every time I ask her to clean up after herself, she tells me to do it. Me, like what the actual hell? I'm not the one leaving dirty dishes in the sink for days or trash all over the place. It's infuriating. The lease is up soon, and I'm already counting down the days. I can't wait to either kick her out or leave myself. Ideally, I'd stay because this apartment still feels like one of the last ties I have to Danny, but honestly, she's ruined it for me. If staying means putting up with her nonsense for another year, I'll pack my bags in a heartbeat. My peace is worth more than clinging to a place that's just a painful reminder of everything I've lost. So that's where I'm at. Divorced, miserable, trying to piece my life together, one day at a time. It's not much, but it's something, I guess. We'll see how things go from here. And honestly, dealing with all my emotional baggage and sticking around to read every single word of my story, well, that means something to me. It's weird knowing that people care enough to follow along, even when I've been at my absolute worst. Maybe it's because I needed someone to talk to, someone to vent to. And if you've made it this far through all my rants, regrets, and ramblings, then thank you for sticking it out. It's been a long, messy, painful journey, and while I don't have a happy ending to share, not yet anyway, just knowing that someone out there listened to me when I felt completely alone, it means more than I can put into words. So, yeah, thanks for being here, even if it's just to watch the train wreck that is my life. I appreciate it.